What's happening, everybody? In this video, we're going to be talking about what I think is the best travel lens for your Sony cameras. In my case, my Sony camera is the Sony a7C Mark II. I just love this thing because it is such a powerhouse of a camera, like my a7S III and my a7 IV over here. I love this thing. It is small, but it has the internals of a Sony a7 IV camera. So my wife, my daughter, and I just recently got back from a trip from Shanghai, China. I love that family time that we had because it was just a very intimate time. It was a very cold time because it was around 2 degrees in Shanghai. So whenever you're traveling with your family or your wife and maybe your kid, you know that you're not going to be able to have the luxury of bringing a very heavy camera setup. Because aside from bringing your own stuff, you have to care for your daughter's stuff or your son's stuff, as well as your luggage in general, right? So you actually cannot bring a camera with such a big lens like a 24-70. So I opted for the Sony 50mm 1.8. So the first reason why I love this lens to travel with is because of how small it is. So I basically just bought my Peak Design Everyday Sling 6 liter. So I love this bag because it is so super small, and it just I can put everything that I need inside this bag. So what I would normally do is I would attach a camera in front here. If you know me well enough, if you've been following my channel long enough, you know how much I love this bag right here, plus attaching a capture clip. This allows me to just put my camera like this, and then whenever I need to use it, I can just release it like this. And it's very easy to stow away too, because of how small this setup is. I can just chuck it in to the main compartment like this, and it just ends up being a very compact package. So the first reason why I love this here setup right here is because of how small it is. This lens only weighs about 188 grams. So if I were to bring like a G Master, my 35mm G Master weighs around 500 grams. Sigma 24-70 art lens, which I would love to travel with, but it's just super heavy, and I'm definitely not going to be able to bring it with me if I'm traveling with my daughter. This is around close to a kilogram. I think around 850 grams to a kilogram. So one more thing why I love this setup right here is because it is not as eye-catching as, say, having a G Master attached onto this camera or a 24-70. If you were at a very sketchy tourist spot and photography is not allowed there, there's a higher chance that they're going to allow you to bring this inside that spot, opposed to having like a lens like this attached. They're going to probably say no professional photography allowed. But this one is still a professional camera. It just doesn't look like a professional camera because you're lugging around such a small setup, if you know what I mean. So the second reason why I love this camera in general is because the a7C Mark II is already a good low light performer. So if you pair that with a lens with an f1.8 aperture, you're just going to be ripping around very easily. This will give you a lot more cleaner images, less noise, and to be honest with you, I didn't even shoot in RAW because I didn't want to have that extra workflow after I came back from our trip to just be editing the photos. I just shot everything in JPEG. I promise you, I did not edit any of these photos that I'm showing you. All of these were straight out of camera JPEGs. The third reason why I love this lens is again because of that f1.8 aperture. An f1.8 means that you're gonna get that blurry background. So if you are in a very busy tourist spot, having an f1.8 aperture allows you to just blur out all of those things. Not as good as an f1.4 or an f1.2, of course, but having an f1.8 plus the compression of a 50mm allows you to just compress the whole image and blur out some stuff from the background or unwanted artifacts in the background. And the fifth and last reason why I love this combo is just that the 50mm lens just is something that is going to resemble what you actually see with your own eyes. A lot of people say that the closest thing to the human eye, the perspective of a human eye, is around 35mm to 50mm. So what do people mean by that? So when we're looking at something, right, we are focusing our attention onto that subject. Our peripheral view is actually 50mm or 35mm. It's very hard to imagine this because if you look from afar, you can still see a building from like 100 meters away, right? But it's very hard to translate that into a camera. So using a 50mm instead of having a zoom lens allows you to capture more images that will resemble what you actually saw during that trip, not just zooming in using a 200mm lens, right? It's going to actually immerse your viewers' attention or the people you're showing the photos to that photo, because they know that you actually were at that spot and you didn't just crash zoom using a very tight focal length like a 200mm or a 300mm. So I love this lens because it actually shows what I actually saw during our trip. Okay, so let's talk about some cons about this combo. So the first con is a very obvious one. The first thing is that whenever you do want to take a travel photo with your camera with this combo, 50 millimeters is a little bit too tight if I want to be in the shot. So we all know that 50 millimeters is super tight. So if I want to take a selfie with my wife and my daughter and I did this, there is no way that you're going to be able to achieve a shot like this with your phone. You could do that with your phone because you have a wider focal length, but with this combo, you're definitely not going to be in the shot. So as you can see in the photos that I've shown you, I was never in the shot unless of course my wife handled the camera and took a picture of me, but 99% of the time it was just my wife and my daughter in the shot. I was taking the photos. The second thing that will definitely shy you away from bringing this lens onto your trip is that if you are a vlogger or you want to create content on the go, 50 millimeters is not really a content creating lens, if you know what I mean. If you want to be in the shot with a shotgun microphone and you want to do this, like what I mentioned in point number 1, is that you're not going to be able to do this. You're going to have to use a wide angle lens like a 16 to 35 mm. So 50 millimeter is definitely more of a storytelling lens than a vlogging lens because it's just not possible with this focal length. Of course, if you want to be in the shot, let's pretend you want to do a group shot with your family, you could do that, but it becomes a little bit more tedious to achieve that shot. If you want a family photo with you in it, you're going to have to hand it to another person to take the photo. In my case, I was just with my wife and my daughter with nobody else with us. It was a little bit difficult. I'd normally bring a tripod, but I didn't want to lug around a tripod because it's quite heavy, right? Despite already having a 1 kg carbon fiber tripod, it's still going to be heavy. Plus, also, if you ask another person to take a photo for you, like a stranger, that's pretty risky, if you know what I mean. You're in a completely new place. You don't want to hand your camera to another person. It's just not easy to take a group shot with this with you in the shot because of just the nature of having a tight focal length. So the third and last con, or one of the complaints I have with this combo, like the 50 millimeter plus this camera right here, is that there were times that I wish I had a 35 millimeter, because if you're trying to take a photo of somebody behind a skyscraper and you're stuck with a 50 millimeter focal length, it's not going to be as easy to capture both. So at the end of the day, as photographers or videographers or vloggers, we all know that the word best lens to travel with is actually not true. There is no such thing as a perfect lens that you can travel with, because there's always that situation when you're gonna wish you had that lens or this lens, right? So yeah, take it from me. A 50 millimeter is a pretty versatile lens to travel with just because of how small it is. f1.8, good in low light and all that good stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something from this video. These were just my thoughts on why I love to travel with the 50mm f1.8. And who knows, maybe next time I'm gonna be bringing my 35mm G Master f1.4. Let's see what I can achieve with this combo. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, leave a like, comment down below, and better yet, subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.